As young people, we are the mostly deluded. We have this notion every time is fit for everything. We can engage in all shades of hedonism and push workouts later and push becoming purposeful, trying to do something with our life later. And in fact, the reason most people try as much as possible to get ahead in life is not necessarily because they are purposeful or they want to make an impact on the world, but as a consequence of finances. Why do they want finances? To prove a point, to show off, to flex on Instagram. You then see the motive behind those actions are not pure to begin with, but that's far from the discourse. The point I want to highlight today is how to spend your 20s the best way to live your life. You've heard of my story as a young man. The first dorm I spent in college, there was no electricity, the community was destitute of water. I had to walk miles to charge my device. So what I did, in fact, it was through that experience that the Bible became real to me. There's a verse that says, "Let your feet be seldom in thy neighbor's house, lest he get weary of thee and hated thee." The opposite compound, group of young men who had generator, alternative power source. The only time they utilize this value is when they have a lady over. So one time, I came to charge my device as usual. Violently, they responded to me in a manner that I disliked. So I came up with a strategy of a roster of charging my devices in various places. So there was a place miles away, I would charge on Monday, this place on Tuesday, this place on Thursday. So I diversified my various charging points. But the point I'm trying to highlight yes, me. The point I'm trying to highlight is, as a man, you need to take as much risk as possible. From that story, you also learned that I would come back from what was miles of walking. My apologies. Body is itchy. What was miles of walking, and I would sit on the floor, look at a book, and although I've read it 100 times, I'll read it 20 more times because that is the best move I can make. That is the best move on the chessboard. Best move, take risk. I had the goal to create $100,000 in income. How this financing would come, I had no idea. What I would do, I had no idea. All I wanted to do is start. Read a book, listen to a podcast, do something that further gets me ahead. And it's painful because after all of this effort, you might somehow believe I become successful after a few years of impulse, like some movie with the morale will try and portray, which is not the case. You can suffer, you can make declarations. Check me out in the next 3-4 years to your friends that you've cut off. And when you see them, you hide because you're working. The results is yet to come to fruition. In that moment, you see yourself in failure, and it's evident. There's no finances, there's no growth, there's nothing that backs up your level of effort. The only thing we can see is your intellect. Your mind has changed. Whilst touching physical things, it's nothing to write home about. but you do not fail unless you stop. It's only failure if you stop. It's only failure if you stop. You now see, I'm taking out time to elaborate on the difficulty of becoming successful. Not only is it difficult, it's going to take time. Time is the unit of destiny. And as a young man, the best thing you can do is to sacrifice your youth to try and become successful, to try and achieve something. Imagine as a working class man, or 20, 29, 30, or in my 30s with family, do you think I'll be able, let alone motivated, to take that risk? Exactly. But now you're not supporting anybody. Now there are no diapers. Now there's no budget for tuition fees. The best thing you can do is to go all in. Risk it all. Try as much as possible. Try different things. Fail. Do not care about people's opinion. Enjoy public embarrassment. That's the best move on the chessboard. No idea how this finance would come. So it was years of dedication, years of effort before I made my first $1,000, which moved to $2,000, then $4,000. Then I began establishing various investments. By the way, this teaching is not scripted. It's coming from the heart as I feel I speak. I dislike being confined to a script, especially in subjects as sensitive as this. The best way to live your 20s is by taking risks. Start the business. I want you to ask yourself the question that would spring up after college, before you get a job, 4 years into the job, 6 years into the job. What next? What next? You don't have to wait till you graduate college till you ask this question. That thing you will do then, do it now. Do it now. Because when you start, you would see the evident flaws in your plan. You would see it didn't work, because an idea is very, very different than an implementation. An idea is very different to action, because there are so many variables attached to success. Start now. Do it now. Start the business. Start as small as possible. That's what people don't understand. They're waiting for a venture capitalist. They're waiting for an investor. They're waiting for something external. But the moment you start, people will come to help. The moment when I was learning about stocks and stock trading, I had no access to capital. I had no relationship to back me up. There was nothing I could have used as an excuse to keep pursuing. But one thing I am for sure, the Bible says that those people who set their heart to build a tower, he confesses that nothing will be restrained for them. And I truly believe how it will happen, it's none of my business. All I need to do is sustain the skill. Take risk and you'll be fine. As always, my friends, a pleasure speaking to you. See you in the next one.